Hello, BookTube. Cheers. Pretty day here. Bright blue skies. What is it? It's about 50 degrees Fahrenheit. The leaves are all changed, so it's yellow, orange, red. Just the mountains are just beautiful right now. So I went out this morning. Little town down the road from me was having a library book sale. So I went, and I did pretty well, I think. So I thought I'd share what I got with you. Here, let me get a little organized. I'm going to start right off here with Eric J. Dolan. This is The Exotic History of Tea, Drugs, and Money in the Age of Sail. And the title, that was the subtitle, the title is When America First Met China. So these all were, I grabbed as many as I want, and I made a donation. And my daughter did the same. So I spent about $14 on my whole load of books, and she spent about 10. So here we have a signature, and I'm looking forward to this. I have a few other of his books I'd like to get, Leviathan being one. He did something on the history of the fur trade, too, I think. Fur, Fortune, and Empire, the Epic History of the Fur Trade in America. And then Leviathan, History of Whaling in America. And I know he's done some since. So I'm looking forward to this, giving this a read. So there's one of them. Then this one is known around BookTube. This is the best American mystery stories of the century. Edited by Tony Hillerman, and series editor is Otto Penzler, who's a great anthologist and bookstore owner, a mysterious books shop in New York. See if they even mention it. Also, he was the founder of the Mysterious Press. So this, I'm excited to have. This is New York. Came out in the year 2000. And has everything from O. Henry, Willa Cather, John D. MacDonald, Ross MacDonald, Pearl S. Buck, Stephen King, Lawrence Block, Sue Grafton, Donald Westlake, Flannery O'Connor. And that one is The Comforts of Home. Harlan Ellison. So, glad to have it. I like these little short pieces. Well, I can't do much with the glare here, but maybe you can hit stop on your computer if you want to see who all the authors are. Then this next one is The Collected Stories of Adora Welty. Happy to have this. This is Harcourt, Brace, and Jovanovic, New York and London, and this came out, oh, come on, help me out here, 1980 it looks like. Yeah. So, prefaced by the author, lots and lots of stories, and very much looking forward to these. Then this is a biography, Van Cliburn. I have several of his albums. He was a pianist. I think he passed away a few years ago. His Emperor Concerto, when he did the Emperor Concerto, I've always loved. I think he's like Mercury Classics or something like that. I may be wrong. So this is Thomas Nelson Publishers out of Nashville, and this came out in 1993. So he won a big competition in Russia, the Tchaikovsky competition, and I mean there was ticker tape parade in New York City, if I remember correctly. And this was a big deal. Yeah, here is the cruise ship. Oh yeah, right here, down Broadway, right there. I think PBS did a documentary on his life. So very fascinating. I have not read a biography per se of him. I'm trying to do these a little bit by size because I got some smaller books over here. Then to go with my collection, a little stained up, a little dirty, I'll try my best to clean it up, is Douglas Freeman, The Volunteers. Big fan of Douglas Freeman, and for his Age of Sail novels, he uses the pen name Alexander Kent. So, let's see, this is William Morrow and Company, New York, 1985, first U.S. edition. 1943, the Royal Navy's Special Operations Units are carrying out lightning-quick raids on hostile coasts and shipping. Operating as a navy within a navy, its men are handpicked for their individual skills. No one knows for certain if their small but deadly operations are making a real impression on the conduct of the war, but the Special Forces continue their hazardous duty, living often without hope and sometimes beyond mercy, and then it goes on from there. So glad to have this. I always like these, Morrow hardbacks. I've got one or two right over here. You can't see them, and I'm not going to move the camera on you, make everybody dizzy, but yeah, I like getting those. This one's, I'm going to need to take a little one of those alcohol pads to clean off a little glue left over from a price tag. I hate it when they do that. This is V.S. Naipaul, Literary Occasions, Essays. Tall, thin thing. It is Alfred A. Knopf, New York, Toronto, 2003. Let me just read from it a little bit. From a master of the English language, winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature, a collection of essays about reading, writing, and identity. In these 11 pieces, brought together for the first time, Naipaul charts more than half a century of personal inquiry into the mysteries of written expression and of fiction in particular. Here are his boyhood experiences of reading books and his first youthful efforts at writing them, the early glimmers and evolution of ideas about the proper relation of particular literary forms to particular cultures and identities. Here, too, is Naipaul's famous comment on the putative literary forebearer Conrad, and a less familiar but no less intriguing preface to the only book Naipaul's father ever published. Finally, in his celebrated Nobel lecture, Two Worlds, Naipaul reflects on the full scope of his career, rounding out the volume as an intellectual autobiography. Sustained by extraordinary powers of expression and thought, Literary Occasions is a stirring contribution to the fading art of the critic, and a revelation as well as a life in letters and its many exemplary instances. Whew, that was a mouthful. There he is. So I look forward to reading this. I don't think I've read any of these. Who knows? Then this is a replacement copy for a volume I had. And I was glad to see it. I don't know whatever happened to my copy. Oh, I keep finding things in these books. Okay, this is Ken Wilber, A Brief History of Everything. So, well, let me tell you who published it. It's Shambhala, obviously, and it's Boston and London, 1996. A Brief History of Everything is an altogether friendly and accessible account of men and women's place in the universe of sex, soul, and spirit, written by an author whom the New York Times reporter Tony Schwartz says, no one has described the path to wisdom better than Ken Wilber. So, I used to have a bunch of his books, so glad to find it. Let me do this. Let me do it this way. And then I collect these Grove paperbacks. This is the New Grove Modern Masters, Bartok, Stravinsky, and Hindemith. So when I see them, I grab them. You gotta watch that they're not highlighted or underlined excessively. They're used in school, right? And I have had to bypass them when that happens. So they're great little studies usually, and I love having them. So I have quite a few. Then, I'll get to these later. Hopefully these are in some sort of order. Let's see, I'll put them in order. 3, 4, 1. So I'll start. This is all part of the same set. I don't have the complete set. Let me make sure I say the right name of these. This is the Works of Robert Louis Stevenson, South Seas edition. It was at least 30 volumes, but I only have a few of them here, but I'm glad to have them. So I have volumes 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the letters. And I'll just pull one aside here to show you. Well, let me grab volume 1. They have these lovely little covers and end papers. Just thrilled to find these. Does it tell me how many? The Charles Scriveners and Sons, 1925. So yeah, they had 32 volumes in all. So this was 29, and this is the edited by Sir Sidney Colvin. Excuse me. So the letters will be really fun, but in addition to these 4, which are the letters, I found these 2, and one's an odd volume, a volume that's poems, volume 2, but that's fine. Volume 2 is actually number 15 out of the whole set, and this is Ballads and New Poems. So I'm glad to have that. And then this one I'm really pleased to have, Familiar Studies of Men and Books, Criticisms. And that's volume 5 out of the whole series. And again, 1925. So Henry David Thoreau, Walt Whitman, some aspects of Robert Burns, Victor Hugo's romances. So, yeah, it ought to be fun. Looking forward to it. So, obviously, the whole set would have been nice, but I'm pretty happy to have this. It's really nice. Then I got some W. Somerset Maugham. Some of these penguins, all in pretty good shape. They had a few more that weren't, so I didn't grab them because I just try to fill in the gaps when I see them. Volume 1 of the collected short stories, right here. This has 30 stories that take us from the islands of the Pacific Ocean to England, France, and Spain. And then volume 3 of the collected short stories. So I need to find volume 2. And these are all the stories about Ashenden, the Secret Service agent. Then we have The Magician. The sinister and repulsive Oliver Haddo gradually brings a happily engaged young English girl under its hypnotic spell. A spell from which the efforts of her fiancé and friends cannot save her. Yikes. Wow. Together with a fragment of autobiography. Well, that's interesting. And it starts, actually, with the fragment. Then, the summing up. Glare or something, isn't it? It's in not really much of a description of it. I have not read this. I don't know anything about this. What does it say? Something I might aptly be described as a religio medici of a great modern writer who, as it happens, ascribes much of his literary success, to his medical training. They're calling this a personal statement. Let me see here. This is interesting because I didn't know. I grabbed it because it was in good condition. And it seems like a sort of autobiography. So that's actually pretty cool. Maybe I'll start with that. Actually, I'll probably start with the Ashenden stories. And then I have a copy, Heritage Press copy, but it's not in really good condition. I don't know why I still have it. Of this novel. And this is The Moon and Sixpence. One of his more famous works. So, yeah, that's pretty good little collection there. So I can't do a Steve pyramid here, so I'll start with these. So Mom, and then Robert Louis Stevenson. I'm thrilled about those. And then a bit of a mix, everything from classical music to history in China to mysteries and adventure novels, essays, the whole 9 yards. So not a bad day. Not a bad day at all. The trick, as everybody knows, is for me to get these on some bookshelves. So we will see. So I hope everyone's doing well, and thank you, BookTube.